I live alone, too. At first, he also put in his efforts. He had thought that he needed to prepare for whatever he could since he didn't know when humanity would come back. Veil tudo and spearmanship are still sloppy. Actually, it's better for me. Such a strange human. Even while receiving Rita's strange gazes, Uilhan immersed himself again in training. Rita provided all 3 meals for him anyway, so he only needed to think about the martial arts that he needed to learn. And like that, 5 years and 10 years passed. It was the moment after 20 years had passed since he was left out. Now, his punches and kicks flowed with fighting spirit that could even kill a bear, much less a human, and the wooden spear he extended powerfully not only pierced the sandbag, but shattered it. Uilhan himself thought that he had no talent in martial arts, but growing up like this in just 15 years was amazing. Of course, it was also because Rita, who was a great fighting partner, was there for him. I'm turning 40 soon. How is it? Do I look more mature? The only thing you did was punch and stab with the spear. Do you think you earned anything other than enlightenment in martial arts? Did you see anyone acting their age after coming out from training in the mountains? You think so too? My mom won't tell me I'm pretending to be mature, right? Don't worry about it and keep training. From this point, Rita, who came once a week, came once every 3 days. It was because she was worried that Uilhan might go crazy after being alone in the huge prison known as Earth for no less than 20 years. Whether it was due to her worry and interest or due to his innate personality, Uilhan endured well. He endured for 20, 30 years. Just how much did it deviate? While looking at such Uilhan, it was instead Rita, who was nervous to the point of shouting. However, Rita's position wasn't actually that high, so she wasn't in a position to ask God directly, and she didn't have the rights to reverse the time axis, so she could only restlessly watch Uilhan train his body quietly, day by day.
Rita,
One day, Uilhan said in a lowered voice, I can't remember my mom's face.
I'm sorry.
Even when I look at the picture, it feels unfamiliar. Was this person really my family? Wasn't I living here alone in the first place? Everything was my delusion, and it is a lie that Rita made in order to console me. Don't say such things. Yeah, it was a joke. It might be good if it was actually like that, though. He sighed and took back the spear. It was the time after 50 years of being left behind. I'm fed up. I want to do something else. I'm sorry to say this now, but it's not known when the great cataclysm will occur. You cannot neglect your martial arts. I know. Now that they had shared several tens of years together, racial matters such as being an angel or being a human didn't really matter. The important thing to Uilhan was a person to look after him and a person who would listen to him. And Rita took that place, so he followed Rita. That was enough. Uilhan was also the only human that Rita came into contact with for several tens of years, so she came to harbor feelings of more than just pity and compassion for the human known as Uilhan. Of course, she didn't say it out loud. The two's strange relationship, which occurred due to God's error, was progressing in a truly marvelous direction. I'll read some books. That's a good idea. Martial arts would become important after the great cataclysm occurs, but reading helps widen one's reasoning and build the foundation for one's actions. It would help, but it wouldn't harm. Uilhan, who acted so fast that it might seem excessive after setting his mind on something, shut himself inside the college library straight away. As he promised with Rita, he trained Veil Tudo and spearmanship for 3 hours a day, but he invested the rest of the time solely in reading. Even the most well-preserved books would change colors after several tens of years passed, but thanks to the stopped time, objects weren't affected by time. It was a good thing for Uilhan. His preferences leaned towards contemporary novels, but he got fed up after reading those for about 5 years and moved on to others. While thinking that his ordinary college life might continue after the great cataclysm occurs, he first studied books related to his major, which was management, and when he was also about to get fed up with it, he considered plural majors and read psychology or other humanities-related books. Unlike martial arts, where the progress becomes less noticeable after a certain point, reading piles up knowledge. Uilhan, who was now hooked, spread his interests to other books inside the library. Common knowledge, history, geography, classics, physics, chemistry, art. He read every single book existing in the library. After a few years passed, the books inside the libraries were insufficient. There was no one guarding bookstores anyway, so Uilhan started conquering the bookstores within his walking range in search of books that weren't in the library. However, even this had a limit. On his 67th year of being left behind, of course, Uilhan no longer counted time. He made a big decision. Let's learn another language. Then let's just change locations. I can deliver your meals wherever it is. Where is that food coming from? Secret. While pondering whether to cross the seas or not, he moved locations to China, the closest country. While driving any car until he was out of fuel, when he found a working petrol station, he would refuel, and if not, he would just change cars. License? There was only Uilhan in this world, so it was okay as long as the car he drove didn't fall off a cliff or explode after crashing. Even while moving, he studied Chinese in his spare time. Language studies that once made him sick became doable after reading books for several tens of years. And the China he arrived at somehow was too wide. And there were, of course, many texts. Maybe it's a mistake to set China as the first stop. Uilhan screamed in joy at the fact that there was so much new knowledge. Humanity will definitely come back before I get to know all the knowledge of China. At that fact, he even felt sorry for it. However, that was his misunderstanding. Even after adventuring through all of China and studying every book there, humanity still didn't come back. Uilhan no longer asked Rita how much time had passed, and Rita also didn't speak of it. He calmly moved to another country. It was because he felt that he might go crazy if he didn't get new stimulation no matter what it was.
Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Pakistan, India, Mongolia.
After learning every language in Asia, he read all the books, records, and even internet logs of all those countries. As if he would die if he didn't read something he read and read again. Once, he forgot the iron rule of training martial arts for 3 hours a day and was close to getting beaten up by Rita. Are you really alright? It's alright. Anyway. He raised his head. The last page of the last book of the 7.5 million books inside the Russian Academy of Sciences was revealing itself. Even though it was 7.5 million books, many of them also existed in other libraries, and to Uilhan, who could now read any book in a short time regardless of thickness, due to reading repeatedly for countless years, it wasn't that hard of a task. As expected, I can't understand technical books even after reading them. Uilhan saw through the limits of his brain. It seemed that he wasn't a person who was fit for sciences. He only read because there was text, and just reading the book didn't make him a professional in that area. Now, let's go to Europe. You're speaking in Russian right now, you know? Okay, we can go to Finland. When he toured Europe, the Middle East, and even Africa, his vocabulary became rich. It was the 216th year after he was left behind. Now there's just Oceania and America left. Uilhan cheered like a middle schooler who just checked that there was little summer homework left. At his unchanging enthusiasm, even though he had lived for over 200 years, Rita made a bitter smile and asked back. You do know that you have to go by boat, right? It's all right. There are many boats without owners in this world. That's called stealing. The power of time was truly amazing. It had made a clueless college student into an all-powerful adventurer. Of course, there was no need to say twice, since one human was given more time than a human lifespan, but Uilhan kept moving without rest as if he would die the moment he stopped. Using all the knowledge of geography, he set the sailing distance to the minimum, and he looked for a boat that could hold out for that distance. In the countless books he read until now, there were many specialized books related to ships, so there wasn't any difficulty finding a sturdy and fueled boat and driving it. Rita, humanity didn't die out by any chance, right? I said there was a deviation in the time axis. I was a fool for thinking it's just twice or 3 times. It seems that it's at least 10 times. How exciting! After he finished preparing for the voyage, Yuilhan unhesitatingly left the land he was on. As long as Oceania and America waited for him, there was no time for leisure. And several tens of years passed again. I finny thriashed. Such a nasty guy. While looking at Yuilhan, who was shouting and rolling around on top of the table inside Boston Public Library, known for being one of the biggest in America, Rita muttered with a fed-up voice. Yuilhan had finally conquered all the available books revealed to humanity. Even though she had watched the whole process with her own eyes, it was an unbelievable achievement. After he left the library, sat down on a bench on the street, and looked at the sky blankly for a while, Yuilhan muttered while tilting his head. What do I do now? Martial arts. I've done that until now too. He didn't only read books while touring around the world. He went to various ruins which remained in some parts of the world, found traces of martial arts, and kept revising various shortcomings in Veil Tudo and spearmanship. Training was 3 hours at the minimum, and sometimes went over 8 hours, even 12 hours. His fighting arts and weapon arts, which had transformed to the point that he couldn't find the original style, were developed into a practical and high-level technique to the point that Rita would have a hard time fighting him without mana. This was something unachievable by someone who didn't have talent even if that person was given countless years. Rita, of course, didn't tell this to Yuilhan, since he would get ahead of himself if she did. Rita, other than martial arts or knowledge, is there something that might help after the great cataclysm occurs? The question that flew toward Rita, who was thinking about Yuilhan's talent, was this. When she heard this, Rita could feel goosebumps. His question proved one thing. Yuilhan, who experienced more things than a human could experience in one lifetime, still didn't lose hope despite the time that had passed. To him, his life wasn't over. No, perhaps he might be thinking that it hadn't even started yet. All the things he did until now might just be preparation for the life after the great cataclysm. It was a long time even for Rita, who was an angel, but a human who wouldn't live past 100 on average was treating the past years as prior preparation. Of course, he himself didn't know exactly how much time had passed, but that didn't make Rita any less surprised. How can you be like that? As she was dumbfounded, Rita spat out the question she had endured until now. If Yuilhan tried to boast a bit, he might have answered with a fancier response, but he, who lived while looking for new knowledge and experience without being in contact with another human for countless years, only had candidness and honesty left. It might be considered that he had regressed into a child. You said I need to do it, so I do it. I can't practice mana, so I need to do other things. With Yuilhan, who sighed while replying, in front of her, Rita lost her words. The countless emotions and impulses mixed with each other, blew up to the point of bursting, and bleached her mind pitch white. Soon, she didn't know what expression to make and turned her head and spread her wings. I'm going. Tell me what to do before leaving. Think about it yourself from now on. Rita disappeared from the place, and Yuilhan was dumbfounded. After cool-headedly judging the situation, he muttered again while sighing. Let's first go back home. This was a historic moment where an angel harbored more than just good intentions towards a human. And obviously, Yuilhan didn't notice that. Yuilhan didn't know, but this was the 274th year after being left behind. Humanity hadn't returned yet.